Hi, everyone. I'm Bari Lyman, and today we're doing a really special interview with a success story. We love doing these. So I want to introduce Jen, and Jen has been married now for 6 years. And so Jen had, just like every single one of you who's watching this interview, challenges in love. Like me, I was challenged for so many years. And what's beautiful is that all of your challenges can be transcended. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter how many years you've struggled. None of that matters. All that matters is if you're committed to making the changes necessary to find your soulmate. So welcome, Jen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
This has been a while in coming. Jen's been married 6 years now. That's amazing. Time totally flies, huh?
Yes, it's been an adventure.
I'm sure. So when Jen and I met, you were living on the Upper West Side, right?
I lived on the Upper West Side. And so my grandmother bought me a present. My friend Marissa was telling me about your class. And I told my grandmother, I said, I think this is it. I think this is going to help me. I know it, Grandma. I know it. And Jen's like, I said to my grandmother, I said, I know this is the one. I know this program is going to help. And my grandma's like, well, you do a lot of programs, Jen. Like, why is this one different? I'm like, Grandma, I know it. So she paid for it. And then I just started working at it. And it just moved me in every way, emotionally, spiritually.
So why don't we start at the beginning? What was your dating life for you that you did programs and that you wanted to make a change? Do you remember what was going on for you at that time?
I think I was just like going to events. I wasn't being very conscious or thoughtful about, like, I didn't have a plan. And I think that was the big key in life now too. Like, it's all about having a plan. And it was just very haphazard. And also I was like a little lonely and depressed, like, because I was 40 years old and I was going to like freeze. I remember my eggs or something. And the doctor says, Jennifer, just meet someone and giddy up. And basically like the next week I went to your program and I was like, okay, I'm ready. But it was like, I dated men who were very charismatic, who was like, I was drawn to them like in a very, I don't know, physical, sexual way. And it didn't really help me emotionally. Like, it was like they were giving me breadcrumbs and I just wanted more breadcrumbs and more breadcrumbs. And I thought they would give me like the loaf of bread. It never happened.
That's right.
So it was, I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Right. And I also didn't trust myself.
Right. But see, you're bringing up such an important point about Jen was 40. She wanted to have a baby. She wanted to move on. She wanted to have a family. She didn't trust herself. And she was on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, which is, like a Mecca. There are a lot of people there. But if you don't have a plan and you don't know how to approach it, and we're taking crumbs and we're dating, I remember feeling just like you, and so many of us here felt that way. That charismatic kind of guy, that charisma, right? It's all chemical attraction. It's devastating, right? It's awful.
Yes, it's painful.
It's awful. Very painful. But what's great about you is that even though you did other things, you realized that this resonated with you. And Marissa Mimone, she got married also through the program and had another child. And so came into the program and we did this journey, and you went through all the pieces and you discovered why you were I know for me, I was addicted. I was a love junkie and totally addicted. That chemical attraction. Oh my God, it made my heart flutter. I had to have it. It was like, I gotta have it. Right. And then we changed all that, right? Changed all of it. You had tons of breakthroughs with, oh my God, remember, with boundaries.
And being dependent, like I was like, I thought I was a child a lot of times, like I couldn't be my grown-up self. And I remember sometimes I wanted to go out and you're like, Jennifer, you have to take a step back and do the work. Like on Saturday nights, I would really just do the work, like instead of going out. So
I remember you were very dedicated, very committed. You came to all the calls, you asked all the questions, you were very committed. And then once all that got worked out, then you became an empowered dater, remember?
mm-hmm. Yes.
Then you started going out.
Right.
Right? And how did it feel then when you went into dating camp and you started going out with these new distinctions about yourself?
Well, I think before that, like I was dating myself for 3 months, and that was what hit home for me, because I would go to these concerts by myself and men would be attracted to me like there was no tomorrow. Like I wore the same clothes, had the same makeup on, but my energy was so different. I was like, this is interesting. And anywhere I went, I would meet someone. It didn't matter. And I also met men who were into me. And then I remember talking to you about it, and you were like, no, if you're not, like, I remember that there's 3 things that I needed to attraction. What were the other 2?
Personality, emotional needs, how you feel with the person.
Right.
Right?
And you said, like, just no, like you have to cut it. If it's not the right one, if they don't have those 3 things, and you just move on. And I think I didn't waste any time in your program, nothing, not even a day. Right. Because after the 3-month mark, I was dating, I went on a date with one guy who was very charismatic.
Oh yeah.
And it was 2 dates, and he didn't want to have kids. And then I also went that night. Also, my husband, Eric, called, and I went on a date with him. And I remember you saying, like, I don't know, for some reason, I didn't want to go on a date with both of them on the same day. But I remember, like, how hard it was for me to say no to that charismatic guy who didn't want to have kids. It was so hard. And I was, like, fighting you about it. Like, you know, in a way that was like, you're right, and I know it.
I remember.
And I said goodbye. And then with Eric, it was very slow, but it was also fun. It was slow, and we were getting to know each other, and there was no, like, chemistry in the first, like, 5 dates. Like, chemistry, but, like, it was just, like, getting to know you, and it was just, like, very easy and calm. There wasn't, like, this, when is he gonna call me? No. Like, yeah, there's no craziness, but that's what I was addicted to.
Totally. I think so many of us are addicted to it because we're addicted to it because it reminds us, it's so familiar of our abandonment issues. And it's like, it like really stings about our value. And we like, it's an addiction. I'll never forget when we had the conversation when you were into the guy, because Jen is a nursery school teacher, right?
Well, right now I'm kindergarten, but I was teaching 2nd grade I teach everything. Yeah.
She's a teacher. So there are teachers here. Diana's a teacher. Many of the clients are teachers. So that means she loves kids, right? You love kids.
Right. I never realized that. Yeah.
Right? So she loves kids. And here's a guy who's chemical. It's all chemical attraction. And we had that conversation. She like wanted to kind of pursue this. And then there was Eric, her husband. And I'll never forget, we talked about him. He calm. He brought you flowers. He wanted
me.
He what?
He pursued me.
Pursued her. I remember you went running in Central Park one day, right? You would go running.
Yeah, all the time. We'd go for walks on the beach, on the boardwalk, like the Riverside Park.
Yeah.
And like we would talk about really like very deep things. So I remember that.
And I remember you were like, I got to keep seeing the other one. So I sat her down one day and I said, with Eric, are you attracted? And she said, yes. I said, do you like his personality? How do you feel when you're with him? And she said, good. I feel really, really good with him. Remember your emotional needs?
Yeah, I remember that conversation. Mm-hmm.
Right? And then I said, excuse me, does he want kids? Is he religiously with you? Is he at your level? Vision, values, and goals, remember?
Mhm.
And she said, yeah, all those things line up. Yeah, he pursues me, we go running. I'm like, so new, what's the problem? What's the problem? And she said,
No, you know what I think? Yeah, I think what's so, yeah, sorry.
no, no, please, please.
No, I was saying like, it's so good that you didn't want me just to date any guy to get married. I think
Oh,
that's so key because like, you know, we trust you. Like I trusted you. And like, I didn't want you to steer me in the wrong way because, oh, I met a guy and I have to get married now because like it's Bari Lyman's class. But no, half the time you were like, no, Jen, like, look at this guy. No. And it was really good for me. So I appreciate, thank you.
no, you're so welcome. Because we're not doing this program just to get married. I mean,
Right.
any of us could get married, but we don't
Yeah.
want to get divorced. So we had that conversation. You realize, yes. And so what happened next when you realized yes?
Okay. So then I think that then we went, I remember our fourth date. It was like he took me to Abigail's and it was so beautiful. It was like we were just sitting there and there was like this violin player and I asked him a question and I said, and this question I'm telling you works. And I said, picture yourself and you're 90 or you have everything you want in your life. You have your family, you have like everything is, you're just sitting on your porch. What would yourself sitting on your porch when you're like when you're 90 years old, what would you tell yourself at this moment right now? I forgot what he said, but I remember what I said to myself. Like I said to myself, like, this is the one. And I said I love you, but in my head, but I didn't tell him that. But the fact that I was able to see myself as a like 100-year-old woman, like having everything I want in my life, just sitting on my porch bench, just like looking up at the stars, like just envisioning it, like that's what, like it was like getting really connected with myself, and I just was like, yeah, this is it.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Wow.
And in any situation, yeah. So
What I'm hearing is that you were really authentic. You
yeah,
asked,
and I was very authentic, and I was extremely vulnerable, like to a point where I was scared out of my mind, because I remember telling him one day, we were walking on the Riverside Park, and I said to him, I said, I'm falling, and I need to know that you'll catch me. Like not fall, like I'm really into you, and he said, wow, this girl's different. Like she's different. And I think because we had to be so vulnerable, like sharing so much about ourselves, that's the only way marriage works. Like that's the only way dating works. Like all this other stuff, it's so doesn't matter. Like in order power, like relationships really come from vulnerability, because at the end of the day, marriage takes a heck of a lot more work.
it does.
It's
It does. But when you're with that right person that will show up for you, and you can be so vulnerable. When you ask him that question, will you show up for me?
right.
And he said he would. That's what you need in a marriage. Like through
It's something from, he quoted something from like the sitter. And then so I spoke to a rabbi. I'm like, wait, how come he said this? I just said that like I'm into him, or I'm like, I want to be with him. He's like, Jennifer, what he said in the sitter was the most powerful thing he could say.
right.
Like,
Oh, so beautiful. So it is. So the idea of being in a marriage is really always every day choosing and re-choosing and re-choosing.
yeah,
And this person feels like this is really challenging, but you remember, go back to those moments, and you know that you can go to that person and they're going to show up for you. Or
right.
even if it's really hard for them to show up for you, or hard to understand what you're going through, you're a unit, you're a family. So that was beautiful. So you had that moment, you knew you were super vulnerable. And then what happened next? Tell us the story.
So we also had a rabbi that we both knew because we actually met at the rabbi's class like a year ago, and I think he brought me into the rabbi, and he basically was telling him, like the rabbi said, "So you love each other, right?" And like we both like gushed, and we're like, and we gushed, and then I think he told me he loved me, and I was like, you know what I said, and I'm going to be very vulnerable right now in this on this call. I said, are you saying you love me because my sister rented a Mercedes? So it's like, are you telling me you love me because my sister's driving a Mercedes right now? Because I told him my sister was driving a Mercedes like in California, and he thought it was so funny because that's where my head is like, what do you mean you love me? Like you love me because my sister because of this? There's no way you can love me, and it was just so hard to like be loved. I think that's what it is. Like, oh, and I was very vulnerable, and he saw all my quirks. Like anytime I thought something like, why'd you say this? How come you said this? And he was there the whole time. He didn't like fluster.
See, guys, that's what it's about. And I think everyone who gets married and finds their soulmate through this program really experiences this, because we think we have to be so perfect or this facade, but your soulmate loves you just the way you are, with your quirks, with your challenges, because they have them too. And we
Right.
love them for their quirks and all of that. So it's so true.
But when you're dating, though, it's all cute, by the way. So when you get married, though, that's when you have to work your quirks out.
That's
because he's like, Jennifer, like you need to like he gets upset if I'm like being insecure like this, or not upset, but he's like, he knows like he knows me, like I don't have to go there.
right.
So like he checks me.
Right. That's right. Exactly. My husband too. And I do that with him also. That's part of it. Because you have this familiarity, but they're not making you wrong. They're just wanting to support you in who you really are. So that's true. So that's a beautiful thing. Okay, so then you get married.
Wait, before we get married, we're dating. And then, okay, we say we love each other. And then he said, Jen, I want to fly you to San Diego. And I was like, I think I called you.
Yes, you did.
And I was like, I think you said it. I think he's going to propose to you or something. Either you said it or my grandmother said it. But you said something like, and I didn't know. And this is, okay, so then we go to San Diego and we pick out a ring. And he proposes. This was at 2.5 months after our first date.
Yep. But and you knew.
Yeah, and he proposed, like he sat me on this tire swing, like this tree swing, and he sang and did a guitar like medley thing, like 5 songs, which are all our wedding songs. And I just cried the entire time because I just couldn't believe this is happening to me. I just couldn't believe it. And then this is your part now. So we sat down. He's like, so when do you want to get married? Like I'm like, first I said December, and it was already May. He's like, that's too long. That's too far away. So then I remember the date that I did for your class, and I said, how is August 24th? And I'll tell you about the August 17th thing. So August 24th, he says, perfect. I'm like, are you serious? Like, I wrote that down. He's like, August 24th, great. So I went to go check the halls out, but they didn't have August 24th available. They had August 17th. I was like, August 17th is good? And we're both like, yeah. So we got married August 17th.
Oh, and we were there. Mike and I were there.
Yeah, I remember you were there for my, like the meal before that.
Yes.
With all my girlfriends, and I just looked at you and I cried again. Yes. I think it was the happiest day of my life being married, like being a bride. It was the happiest.
Oh, because you wanted it so much.
I waited.
I know, 40. But the thing is that you did the work, you showed up, and
right.
you knew how you wanted to feel, and then the feeling in real life is even better than what you imagine it to be, right?
Right.